for our cover story, we are exposing the hypocrites of Davos as political and business leaders gather this week for the annual World Economic Forum meeting in Davos, Switzerland. Nothing can be more glaring than the self-serving nature of this gathering. Because while the global elite discuss combating challenges facing the world economy, the rich are getting richer and the poor are getting poorer. Allow me to explain. According to Oxfam, the combined fortunes of the world's 5 richest men have more than doubled to $869 billion since the year 2020. Meanwhile, 5 billion people have been made poorer. Have you ever heard of the saying, this meeting could have been an email? Well, nothing epitomizes this more than this conclave of pretend do-gooders. You see, each year, political and business leaders fly their carbon-spewing jets to Davos, stay in lavish accommodations in the Swiss town, and from here, they give out sermons on how to fix poverty, fight climate change. I mean, these are some of the wealthiest people and leaders of the world. If they could have solved the problem, they would have. But you see, they have failed. And that is why ordinary citizens protest, calling on the governments to rein in the billionaire class. Quite frankly, the meeting at Davos is a performance, a mere spectacle to mask the dangerous wealth divide. Just have a look at the figures on your screen now. The Oxfam study is perfectly timed. Since 2020, the wealthiest people on earth became a whole lot richer. We'll get to those figures on your screen in a bit. The net worth of these 5 billionaires skyrocketed 114%. If the current trends continue, they would become trillionaires in a decade. Just contrast this with the condition of the poor. Nearly 5 billion people became poorer. Why is that? Because they had to contend with inflation, war, the climate crisis. Do you know how much time it would take to eliminate poverty? 230 years. But who are these 5 individuals who have seen rising fortunes? Let's tell you all about them. Elon Musk, who runs several companies, including Tesla and SpaceX, was the big winner. His wealth increased to $245.5 billion at the end of November. In short, he saw over 700% increase in wealth since March 2020, and this after accounting for inflation. Next, we have Bernard Arnault, the chairman of French luxury goods giant LVMH. He had a net worth of $191.3 billion, up 111%. And then you have Jeff Bezos. He saw a rise in the fortune of $167.4 billion, a 24% increase. Bezos was followed by Oracle founder Larry Ellison. His wealth totaled $145.5 billion, up by 107%. And rounding off the list is Warren Buffett, the CEO of Berkshire Hathaway. His net worth rose 48% to $119.2 billion. Now, if you thought that was shocking, listen carefully to what I'm about to tell you next. The Oxfam report says that if each of the 5 wealthiest men were to spend $1 million daily, they would take 476 years to exhaust their combined wealth. Now, this is why you should care. 7 out of 10 of the world's biggest corporations have a billionaire CEO or a billionaire as their principal shareholder. In short, the world's richest 1%. Well, they own 43% of all global financial assets, including stocks, shares, bonds, plus stakes in privately held businesses. What's more, this 1% emits as much carbon pollution as the poorest 2/3 of humanity. Billionaires today are $3.3 billion richer than they were in the year 2020. Let that sink in. And this, by the way, is despite the many crises that have devastated the world in the past few years. And who is to blame for this, you wonder? Oxfam says government leaders. This is how. States handed power over to monopolies, allowing corporations to influence the wages that you are paid, the price you pay for food, the kind of medicines that you have access to. It's the same leaders who are now huddling at Davos to discuss how to combat the myriad challenges facing the world. And this, perhaps, is why Oxfam called for governments to rein in corporate power, to break up monopolies. Further, Oxfam urged the governments to tax the rich, to institute taxes for those who have excess profit and wealth, to promote alternatives to shareholder control, such as forms of employee ownership. This is because of estimated 148 top corporations that made $1.8 trillion in profits. The rich shareholders received hefty payouts. This even as millions of workers faced a cost of living crisis amid inflation-driven wage cuts. Now, make no mistake here, this inequality is not by accident. The rich want to keep you poor. They are ensuring that corporations deliver more wealth to them at the expense of everyone else. But let's just get back to Davos. The World Economic Forum says that the Davos events were launched to champion stakeholder capitalism. What does that mean? The WEF says that it defines a corporation as being not just about maximizing profits, but also about fulfilling human and societal aspirations as part of the broader social system. But is it possible in a world full of self-serving status seekers? Oxfam looked at data sources from International Labour Organization, from the World Bank, from the annual Forbes Rich List. It shows that these big goals were far from being fulfilled. What we know for sure is this: as long as the ultra-rich continue to focus on profit rather than sustainability, inequality and climate change will continue to scar the poor. The gathering at Davos, therefore, is only idle talk to mask the dangerous wealth divide.